Hi everyone, Patrick here. Do you notice anything different about this video? Because I finally got, for the first time, a proper lighting. So yeah, behind this camera, there is now a proper lighting unlike all my previous videos. And I'm really hoping that this increased the brightness and quality of my video. And for today's video, it will be my August book haul. I'm going to show you all the books that I got, all the physical books that I got within this month. And as it turns out, there is 9 self-published books and 9 traditionally published books, so it's equal. What are the odds, right? I did mention in my previous book haul video that instead of compiling all the books that I received within 6 months into one video, I think it will be better for me to do my book haul video by month instead, no matter how many books I got within each month. And this is just fortunate that I got 18 books this month. So I'm going to start by showing you all the traditionally published books that I got this month. The first one that I got is The Shadow of the Gods again, but first things first, this is an advanced reading copy. This was sent out in February, 6 months ago, and this only arrived this month. It's insane. I really thought this was gone already. And now I have 3 copies of Shadow of the Gods. But I'm truly grateful because John Gwynne is one of my favorite authors, and for those of you who haven't read this book, this is a Norse-inspired epic fantasy that's separated from the Banished Land saga. So if you haven't read The Faithful and the Fallen or Of Blood and Bone trilogy, you can just jump into this one immediately. This is a completely separated world from The Faithful and the Fallen and Of Blood and Bone. And I absolutely love this book. I have done a full spoiler-free review on this book. I have also done a discussion video with a lot of my booktubers friends. Highly recommended, and this cover art is epic. I cannot wait for the second book. The next book I'm going to show you is Son of the Storm by Suyi Davis Okungbowa. This is again another advanced reading copy which was sent at the same time as The Shadow of the Gods. So yeah, this was sent 6 months ago. Yeah, this is the pain of being an international reader. Even though I'm finally included in a reviewer list by traditional publishers, but it still can be a pain to receive physical books sometimes because it takes a long time and sometimes we don't know whether it's lost or not. As for this book, this is supposedly an African-inspired fantasy. I haven't read this one. The cover art by Dan Dos Santos is absolutely gorgeous. Dan Dos Santos is one of my favorite cover artists, and hopefully when I do get to this one, I'm going to love it because I do also have a finished copy of this book too. The premise do sound interesting though. In this world, there is no destiny but the one you make. A scholar seeks forbidden knowledge, a warrior wields forgotten magic, a fixer's daughter schemes for political power. From city streets where secrets are battered for gold to unpredictable forests teeming with fabled beasts, 3 lives collide, and their tangled destinies will bring down an empire. The next 2 books that I got are Snakewood by Adrian Selby and The Winter Road by Adrian Selby. These 2 are grimdark fantasy books, and both of them are standalone books. And yeah, these 2 plus Brother Red are all connected with one another, so this is a series of standalone novels. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Adrian Selby's debut. And although The Winter Road is published after this one, The Winter Road is actually a prequel. And Brother Red, Adrian Selby's recently published book, takes place after The Winter Road but before Snakewood. So the chronological order of the series is The Winter Road, Brother Red, and Snakewood. And that's only if I'm not mistaken. I haven't read any of this, but I heard a bit of mixed things about Adrian Selby's prose, and I did try Snakewood a long time ago and I couldn't click with the writing at all. But I've heard from a lot of readers that Snakewood is by far the hardest book by Adrian Selby to access. The Winter Road and Brother Red supposedly is much easier. The next book that I got is The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at it. This cover art is done by Jamie Jones, one of my favorite cover artists. He also did the cover art to Winter Road and Brother Red. The Pariah just came out a few days ago and I've read this one. I think this is Anthony Ryan's best work after Bloodsong. Yeah, unfortunately Bloodsong is still his best book in my opinion. But I love this one, and if you haven't read this, I strongly urge you to not read the blurb. I apologize that in my July TBR, I did mention all the blurbs for this one, but to be fair, I didn't know that it contains a huge spoiler. So the blurbs practically tells you what will happen for the entire first half of the book. I didn't know that, so yeah, I've been spoiled, and it did kinda affect my experience of the first half of the book, unfortunately, because I already know what will happen. I will be talking about the Pariah more in my August wrap-up, but yeah, this is a great one. Next two books that I got are We Lie With Death and We Cry For Blood by Devin Madsen. This is the second and third book in the Reborn Empire Quartet. The first book in this series, We Ride the Storm, is one of my favorite books. I read We Ride the Storm back when it was still self-published, and I consider it one of the best self-published books that I've ever read. And I have actually read We Lie With Death back when it was still self-published too. I haven't read the updated edition, but I'm so looking forward to reading this series again from the beginning, and I haven't read We Cry For Blood. I haven't read it, so We Cry For Blood will be a completely uncharted territory for me. And look at this cover art. The new cover art are absolutely gorgeous. Nico Delort did such a terrific job on them. I cannot wait to see the cover art of the final book. The next book that I got is Stormblood by Jeremy Szal. I've read this one 2 years ago. This is Jeremy Szal's debut, and it's a great sci-fi debut. I haven't read the sequel Blind Space. I was going to read Blind Space this month, but unfortunately that's not possible because, well, time is limited and it's almost the end of the month already. But I highly recommend this to those who love reading sci-fi with great characterizations. Brotherhood is one of the main theme of the novel. It is the main theme of the novel, and even though it is a very action-packed book, I think at its core it's about brotherhood. And finally, the last traditionally published book that I got this month is The Hand of the Sun King, again by J.T. Greathouse. This is sent by Gollancz. This is the third copy of The Hand of the Sun King that I received, and I'm truly grateful for this. I've said it so many times already that this is my favorite debut of the year so far. And if you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. It's published now, and it is such an incredible coming-of-age fantasy with such a lovely prose. I highly recommend it. And to make things even better, Gollancz used my review here, and I'm truly thankful. Thank you so much, Gollancz. It's always an honor to me when a publisher or sub-published authors uses my review on their books. And now we move forward to the sub-published books that I got. And unfortunately and ashamedly, I will have to say that I haven't read any of the sub-published books that I got this month. None of them. My TBR pile is insane. It's really insane. If you're a sub-published author who's watching this right now, please do understand that if I don't reply to your email, it's not because I don't want to, but I can't reply to everybody. I receive a review request every day, and it is impossible for me to reply to them all. It's just impossible. I will be spending my days just replying to email. Do know that I read your review request though, and if I have some time, I will definitely contact you. Anyway, the first sub-published book that I want to show you here is Pyramidion by New Begin. Look at the cover art. It's amazing, right? This is honestly one of the reasons why I accepted it. I'm sorry, but cover art matters a lot to me. How else will I be attracted to check out a book further if the cover art doesn't attract me? And this one seems interesting because this is an urban fantasy. I haven't read a lot of urban fantasy, especially in comparison to the epic fantasy books that I've read. But the premise for Pyramidion do sound interesting. After losing his whole world in a car accident, Luke Nixon falls into a pit of despair, only to find himself receiving advice from his dead wife in his dreams. He soon ends up under the care of an ancient organization and learns that he and his family are of an ancient bloodline, and that his daughter is still alive. Unsure if he can trust them, but lacking any other choice, Luke is left with only one option: to rescue his daughter. However, it's no simple task following a breadcrumb trail across multiple continents through the spirit realm and ultimately bringing Luke face to face with gods and demons. The next two books I'm going to show you is Valley of the Free by Mike Sleater and also Fate Lost by Mike Sleater. These two books belong in the Pandemonium Rising series, so this one is the main novel, one of the main novels, because this is the third book out of a quartet, and Valley of the Free is a prequel novella. I did a cover reveal for Fate Lost on this channel a few months ago, and I haven't read it. I haven't read this one. This one just came to me this month, but I've read Valley of the Free and I really enjoyed it. Oh, I've read the book here. Yeah, I really love this one, and judging from my experience of reading the three books by Mike Sleater so far, two novels and one novella, I have no doubt I'm going to love this one too. It is a grimdark series with high focus on characterizations, but yeah, it is grim, and if you don't like reading grimdark fantasy, please do not. Just don't. It is very dark and it requires a lot of content warning, especially the first book. The next two books I'm going to show you are Cold from the North and The Darkest Dusk by D.W. Ross. I haven't read these two books, but judging from the premise and the cover art, I think this is a Norse-inspired fantasy. The blurb for the first book is this: driven by the promise of an ancient prophecy which will bring back the dark ways of an old god back to power and prominence, an army of invaders swarms Ogulf Heartsbane homeland, slaughtering all those who oppose them. Along with his people, Ogulf must seek refuge from this savage force. In his search of sanctuary, he is tasked with finding the one person who can put a stop to the onslaught. Doing so will send him across the land and seas, have him and his closest friend navigate the intricacies of a civil war, and try to win the help of the princess fighting for her throne. If he fails, darkness will prevail and the reign of the Onyxborn will begin. So yeah, that's the title of this series, Onyxborn Chronicles. I also received Duty Bound by Mark Aaron Alvarez. This is the author's debut and it is the first book in Lightwing's epic. That's the title of the series. And I think this is a story about good versus evil. When young Lucia Sanon, High Maiden of Moss, receives a gift from her long-lost father, her whole world changes. Lucia and the other heirs of nobility are forced to face the sins of their forefathers and bring their world from the brink of darkness. With the help of the Lightwings and its power, Lucia must hit the call to assemble the Light's virtues and let them into battle against the very sins that seek to destroy their world. But finding the four virtues will not be easy, for much of the knowledge is lost and the understanding of one's own morality is the only key to unlocking the power each of them holds within. So yeah, as usual, it's just a matter of finding the right time and mood to finally read this one and all the other books I just mentioned. The next and final three books I'm going to show you is a completed trilogy. It is a trilogy called Iconoclast by Mike Shell. The first book is called The Aching God, the second book is called Sin Eater, and the third and final book is called Idol's Fall. I haven't read this one, but this is very high priority for me. I just got this trilogy at the beginning of this month, and I'm not gonna lie, I have heard a lot of amazing things about The Aching God. This has been in my TBR pile for years now. And I don't even know why I still haven't gotten around to it yet. A lot of readers and reviewers I know have praised this trilogy so much, and the author decided to surprise me by sending me all three books. I thought he was going to send me only this one, but he sent me an entire trilogy. And the least I can do is actually read and review them. I'm going to start this book next month. So you're definitely going to see this in my September TBR, and if all things goes well, you will be seeing me talking about Iconoclast trilogy for the next few months, for the rest of the year. Just listen to this blurb. This sounds so compelling already. The days of adventure are past for Auric Manteo. Retired to the countryside and isolated with his scars and riches, he no longer delves into forbidden ruins seeking dark wisdom and treasure. But just as old nightmares began plaguing his sleep, he received an urgent summons back to that old life. To save his only daughter, he must return to the place of his greatest trauma, the haunted Barrowlands. Along with a group of inexperienced companions and an old soldier, he must confront the dangers of the ancient and wicked Jiao civilization. He has survived fell beasts, insidious traps, and deadly hazards before. But how can he contend with the malice of a bloodthirsty living god? It sounds so good. I have a soft spot for an old retired warrior, usually a badass warrior coming back to do one last mission. And this sounds like it. Think about it, just like Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. That one also has a group of legendary warriors reuniting once again for one mission. I love that kind of trope. It is an amazing trope, and I hope that this one will nail it. Unlike Kings of the Wild though, this is a dark fantasy. I think there is no light-hearted moments here. So we'll see. That's all the books that I got in August. Please do let me know if you have read any of these books or whether any of these books looks interesting to you. And lastly, I want to say thank you so much to the publishers and authors who have sent me these books. I truly appreciate it always, especially because I'm an international reader. I'm always grateful for this opportunity and honor. So yeah, that's it from me today. Do let me know which books you got this month, and as always, thank you so much for watching and thank you for your support. Bye bye.